I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at HMG Aerospace, who own inflight as part of a media portfolio. I'm going to hand over to my brilliant panel. I'm hoping that everyone sitting in the audience will learn a lot. Please do ask questions when we go to Q&A. This is your chance to learn and to test these experts that are up here. So it gives me pleasure to introduce you to Summer, who is from Valor Consulting, who will be moderating this session for us.
Great, thanks Becky. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me today for our first connectivity session. Extra special that you're all here on Tuesday morning. So this will be on the next leap in in-flight coverage. My name is Summer. I'm a research analyst at Valor Consultancy, and we're a market intelligence provider in London, specializing in aviation, and one of our sort of specialist areas as well is in-flight connectivity. So I'm really excited to dive into this with you today. Now, in-flight coverage. You're probably thinking, have you seen the size of Starlink? It's 2026. Don't we have global coverage? But actually, achieving truly global coverage can be a little more complex than you might think. So despite some of the advancements in technology and capacity, there are still some challenges like regulatory barriers and geopolitical complexities that leave gaps in coverage today. And that leaves us with a key question. How do we bridge those gaps? Lucky for us, I'm joined by 3 fabulous panelists who will help us answer this question today. So I'll look at some of the challenges in a bit more detail, and on a more positive note, we will discuss some of the innovations and partnerships that will shape the next leap in in-flight coverage. So I'll get you guys to introduce yourselves. We'll start with Eric.
Hello, pleased to be with you here. I'm Eric Perruquin. I'm representing Airbus, and I'm coordinating the sales of the connected aircraft here in Airbus.
Hello, Reza Rasulian with Hughes Network Systems. I'm the SVP and General Manager of our aviation business, both commercial and business aviation.
And I'm Blaine Boynton. Thanks for having me this morning. I lead product management and product development for SES. SES serves about 3,000 commercial aircraft with connectivity and other digital services. So.
Great. Yeah, so as you can see, we have a lot of insights to learn today, so we'll jump straight in. So I thought it would be good to start off by sort of setting the scene and assess where we are in in-flight coverage today. So as I mentioned earlier, we have new LEO networks like Starlink with thousands of satellites, but that service isn't available everywhere due to lack of regulatory approvals. At the same time, we've also had a lot of consolidation and sort of cooperation across the industry, like SES and Intelsat. But there are some limitations, in hardware equipped on the aircraft that stops customers from maybe accessing that capacity straight away. So I thought we could start, if you guys wanted to discuss some of the factors that cause gaps in coverage despite the availability of capacity. Maybe we can start with Blaine.
Sure. So SES has been very adamant about multi-orbit as the right way to provide passenger experience, and it provides a few advantages. Multi-orbit allows you to access multiple networks for service provision. So in the case of some of the current network environment, you have a pretty mature geostationary fabric that's been around for a while, and you have authorization to serve on that geo network in almost every country in the world. With some of the newer NGSO constellations, there are areas where that service is not available. And so for a multi-orbit terminal, the natural solution is to shift to another network when you're in those geographies. So technically that's possible now. The antennas exist that allow you to switch seamlessly between networks. It's common for aircraft to carry now multiple modems. So we might have an NGSO modem and a GEO modem. The tricky bit is making the switch and not impacting the passenger experience. And so one thing that we spend a good deal of development time on at SES is figuring out how to make that switch seamless, how to do it without affecting the passenger experience in a way that causes a disruption or an outage. And what we see next is antennas that are capable of being in 2 networks at the same time. And so there, the job to be done shifts a little bit from switching to bonding and using both of those technologies simultaneously. So multi-orbit and making use of multiple constellations is the right way to do it, and then doing the software work to keep it seamless is important. And I know Hughes and Reza do a lot of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Blaine hit the nail on the head. I think kind of gone are the days where you can only rely on a single solution. So we absolutely believe in a multi-multi. So it's multi-band, multi-beam, multi-modem, really ubiquitous connectivity solution that really creates an optimal passenger experience. And ultimately, we're after that fantastic passenger experience. So we made an announcement yesterday about our ESA platform at KU and Ka-band simultaneously. So as Blaine points out, I think really the magic is when you blend two forms of capacity. And obviously, GEO and GEO satellites are bread and butter, and we love them. But clearly, there's an opportunity for LEO. And that's what we're focused on. That's where our vision is. We have a GEO-LEO hybrid today that we're launching with Delta Airlines. So we have over 400 aircraft under contract with Delta. More news to come. Got a lot of really, really cool things happening. I think there was an Airbus announcement this morning about some of our collaboration within the HBC Plus context and Delta, and enabling them with Fusion via HBC Plus, which is really, really pleased with that. And I think the other thing is partnerships, right? So we partner with SES on capacity. We partner with Airbus in making it easy for the airlines, which is also our job, because it's complicated. There's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of factors that go into connectivity decisions. We want to eliminate the decision fatigue and really create an open model. And Fusion really blends the capacity, so you don't have to pick the bearer. That results in high availability, high yield, and really ultimately a higher net promoter score, we believe, for our passenger clients.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, thank you for the transition for the HBC Plus. When you want to step back a few seconds and you're an airline, super complex topic to manage. Super complex topic to manage because the world is becoming mad at a point of time. You need to be able to take a decision to reroute your aircraft in different routes because of geopolitics.
Yeah.
So it's becoming very complex, and this is why we are entering this path of proposing an agnostic solution to the airline, a solution that is flexible enough for them to be able to choose to dispatch aircraft wherever they want with the route they want. And with the partnership we have with Hughes and SES, we are just demonstrating this flexibility. You're not stuck with one supplier that might not have all the coverage for everything. You have offerability in each one of the MSP. You have plenty of offers behind your name. The airline can choose you, Hughes, or you, SES in our HBC Plus offer. So really, we push for this agnosticity and for this choice.
Yeah, definitely. And that makes sense, because one of those topics that comes up over and over again is how do we serve customers in difficult to reach areas like China and India. So if you guys wanted to maybe comment on how some of those regulatory approvals go, or like your partnership with Space Sail that's upcoming, maybe we could start with that. And
and I was saying it's important to have the choice, and as sometimes it's difficult to have some coverage in some country, we need to offer the choice. So we are partnering with SCS in China, for example, with ASL as a provider. So we have solutions that covers the world, and you have seen that also the HBC Plus program today is offerable with many MSPs. So obviously we have your two company on the list, but you have heard also that we are teaming with Amazon for our next step and for Space Sail. So really the importance is to be able to offer the choice, because each airline is different. Each airline has a different background, a different context, and we need to tailor the offer to these airlines.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe, Rez, you could say from the Hughes perspective, maybe from the hardware side, how are you sort of developing antennas, to catch up with how they sort of merges how partnerships are going. Obviously you're juggling a lot of different networks that could go on an aircraft. Customers have a lot of options today. How do you sort of keep up in terms of, that engineering, that hardware, even just down to installations, and potentially even future-proofing those solutions, so making sure it's less invasive, for retrofits and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, our philosophy is absolutely open, and I think we benefit from being a hardware designer, avionics designer, manufacturer. We have 100,000 plus square feet brand new state-of-the-art factory on premises at Hughes. It's AS 9100. We're getting Part 21 and 145 this summer. In fact, we've shipped over 700 aviation ESAs in the past 14 months, which is really unheard of at this scale. With our GoGo client, obviously, as well as commercial aviation. So our philosophy is absolutely open. Our ESAs have I would say a wide aperture beamforming philosophy. So there's a lot of new constellations that haven't even been contemplated. There's new announcements all the time. So our philosophy is we have an ability to add either a software-defined waveform into our platform, or we have the ability to add modems in a multi-modem modman. And in fact, we have facilities to have modems outside as well. Okay. So with this really, really flexible architecture, I think we're moving into a very nimble world where we adapt with the ecosystem and we give our airline partners choice. And that's one of the key tenets of our philosophy. So we're really excited about it because there is a lot of change that happens very often. And I think for us to be able to continue to adapt and help without a massive retrofit on these aircraft. So we like to say drill once, best forever, right? That's our philosophy. So, these assets obviously need to last decades. And with this flexible approach, we're very confident that we've achieved that. Yeah,
definitely. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, so I think we started the question on coverage and keeping it consistent. Partnership, as Reza mentioned earlier, is absolutely critical if you want to provide coverage everywhere. We work through partners throughout the Open Orbits ecosystem, certainly. And then in the rest of our business, we certainly have regional partners there's two regions really you have to partner. It's China and India. And so we've got partnerships that serve us well in both of those regions. Having access to multiple spacecraft and constellations is a key. If we want to talk about maybe some of the challenges that are associated with providing that ubiquitous coverage, we're not as an industry at a place yet where we've sorted out the modem game, right? So you have different platforms and modems that are driving the insertion of equipment on the aircraft. And when I look at some of the newer systems, they have a great advantage. It's one fabric, one modem, and it's nearly everywhere, right? So I think this is a challenge that we need to take on. We need to sort out a way to stop putting modem changes on airlines every 3 to 5 years. It's not a welcome conversation ever.
That's right.
It's a difficult chat with the airline. It's a difficult chat with the airframer. And so, SES and Intelsat before have been pretty adamant that moving to 5G is an end state, is a way to get there. And so we'll look at seeing if we can get industry to move into more of a standards-based approach. The technology is not quite there yet. We've had great chats with Airbus and others on these topics, but software-defined modems is going to be an entry criteria, I think. And those aren't quite ready for prime time yet, at least not in my view.
I think that's right.
Okay. And that's like a lot of cooperation. Obviously, you're all sort of working together, but it does seem like there's just so much collaboration going on in the industry. Eutelsat OneWeb as well, working with you guys closely. How do you sort of form those relationships and work together to really, standardize these types of solutions across aircraft and sort of also, preemptively think about Amazon Leo or, Telesat Lightspeed that might be coming and might need to be integrated into that stuff. How do you build those relationships and sort of achieve that end goal?
I think we need to first listen to our customer, because the customer has aircraft. They don't want to drill whatever hole they want. They want to have OEM graded solutions to keep the guarantee, to keep the things around the aircraft. So by listening to our customer, what we propose here is what we have called this HPC Plus. We have, and considering the evolution also of the market, we have two solutions now for HPC Plus. We have the HPC Plus Flex, which is based on the ThinCom 2517, where you two are compatible with this antenna. And as you were saying, it still evolves, and that's why we are having now the HPC Plus Modular, which is in the type of drill once forever, and we will propose a solution where the airline will be able to have a plate and could have a modular and could switch antenna, could pair antenna, could have KA, KU, 2K if they want, to have Amazon Space Cells, to have SCS Hughes, why not one day on the same aircraft, but still with the same installation. And having this really, it's just a proof that we're listening to our customer, listening that they want to have OEM graded solution to keep the guarantee on the aircraft, which is very important. Just think what happens if suddenly you have a lightning strike close to the antenna. With our solution, you can keep the guarantee. We make it happen for your customer. So very important to keep the choice, to be future-proof in the new antennas that will come, etc., with still the same installation.
Yeah, okay. And we were sort of chatting earlier, and we were talking about the different layers to HPC Plus as well, and how Hughes is a managed service provider in that sense. Could you explain maybe what that role is and how it sort of evolved with these sort of changes in the landscape of provision of connectivity?
Sure. Yeah. I guess kind of linking the two questions together. We absolutely believe in partnerships.
Yeah.
We're open, and to the extent that satellite operators, LEO constellation providers want to work with us, we want to work with them. So we're not closed by any means. We think that's the best way to give the airlines what they want. And I think as more and more options come to fruition, that'll become more and more important. From a managed service provider perspective, again, bringing all this together in one package, I think, is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, a lot of airlines, their focus obviously is filling their aircraft with passengers and getting high yields.
Yeah.
So we focus on connectivity. We focus on creating a really excellent passenger experience. And again, a lot of this can't happen without these strong partnerships, and both Blaine's company and Eric's company are a part of that. So we're happy to sell hardware, right, to partners, supply, other MSPs. We're happy to provide an end-to-end service, and we're very diligent in the way we do that because we know that you could probably get much more market share if you're collaborative and create really good solutions, and that also drives volume.
Yeah.
So Hughes is a volume company, right? So that we fill our factory, that's really good. I think some of the other folks that have kind of a very vertically integrated approach do have a lot of high volume, right? So as an industry, I think we're like, okay, how do we still make it a good experience for the airlines, and we can drive volume that reduces cost, that also creates more and more efficiency across the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's true. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, so what drives partnerships? Certainly it's two factors. It's the airframers and the airlines. Those are the two that are driving it. They're in the position to kind of structurally create collaboration in a competitive way, and they do that. And some airframers lean in more than others in that regard, right? Beyond the hardware and network collaboration and partnership, there's another layer of partnership that I think is important in our industry, and that's as you start to look at the digital experience that lays on top of this hardware. You're starting to see some interesting partnerships emerge. So at Intelsat and GoGo prior, we had a partnership with T-Mobile that provided free access to folks in the United States when they were flying if they were on certain plans. That was certainly a very well-regarded feature of a T-Mobile service plan. We announced yesterday that we've been partnering with Google as SES, working on reducing friction in the cabin, right? So anyone who's flown and maybe closed their browser and tried to get back to the portal page knows that sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do. Working with Google on an Android custom tab, if you're on an SES-equipped aircraft now, you can close that browser, reopen it, and you're going to have a persistent tab that the operating system is a part of managing. So the partnerships will need to evolve. We'll need to evolve beyond just getting the plumbing right, which is the price of admission, right, in the antennas and the modems, and start to think about how do we partner to provide a better brand experience for the airline. And providing a better brand experience means moving up the stack. Now you're going to move into the software space. You're going to work on getting people connected, doing it with as little friction as possible, perhaps serving them an entitlement. Maybe they're entitled to watch a movie or they're entitled to have a free hour. These are the types of partnerships that we see coming. We like to work on those problems, and it'll help the airlines move from worrying about the plumbing to worrying about their brand and how it's being portrayed as a way to differentiate.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. That's kind of come up a lot as well. And I suppose it's very distinct from maybe the Starlink approach, which is more the freemium model where there's not really a portal, the airline is maybe choosing between that branding and speaking to the audience that way versus, sort of losing the passenger straight away. Starlink's also obviously very vertically integrated. How do you sort of see the ecosystem playing out, whereas you're all kind of partnering together, working very closely with airlines, whereas we have a very distinct approach to the market over here. What if an airline wants both on board, or, you know what I mean? How do you see that sort of landscape evolving over time, given these two very distinct approaches to market?
Maybe I can start. So we saw this a number of years ago. GoGo used to provide a portal that a lot of airlines utilized, and you went to a GoGo URL on the aircraft. And that was maybe 7 years ago. Everyone's like, no more. It's going to be our brand. It's going to be my Wi-Fi address, my custom URL. And then we had a few airlines that even went and built their own onboard experience in total. So we've seen it go back and forth throughout at least the last 5 to 7 years. Now we tend to see airlines partnering with folks that do the digital experience really well to bring their brand in, but to let a specialist handle that part. So we have a portal infrastructure at SES that we build and sell and customize. It's an important part of our offering, but increasingly you're seeing other folks come into the game. What I think will be interesting to watch in the next couple of years is how do the carriers, the telcos, and how do the media companies work their way in, right? So anyone who's flown recently has probably been served a credit card ad at some point in their passenger journey. The credit card companies have been huge sponsors of entitlements on airlines, and I think we'll start to see more of the media companies step in, especially as some of the new entrants bring their network to bear. They can perhaps bundle connectivity and entertainment. It's going to be a very interesting couple years, I think.
Definitely, yeah. Would you like to go?
Sure. Yeah. No. I think Blaine hit the nail on the head. I absolutely agree. I think there's a big loyalty aspect to it as well.
100%.
So you've got the partnerships outside, but also the brand equity that's gained when you have really loyal passengers, and that's also linked to the passenger experience. So. From a Hughes perspective, we're very open. So all ends of the spectrum, from a full turnkey solution with portals, we could even help with kind of the layouts and so forth, all the way to, here's a set of containers and the airline can absolutely control the entire look and feel. We're just a hardware provider. So it's really all ends of the spectrum, and we found that works really well to have that flexibility, because I think you have airlines at all ends of the spectrum. You have certain airlines that have invested in a core team within the company that has this expertise. You have other airlines that have other focuses that would like a full turnkey solution. And obviously, with an HBC Plus approach also, it's really easy to pick from the catalog, very similar to a regular line fit solution. So it's the line fit solution for Airbus.
And maybe what I can add, I fully agree with the passenger experience where we need to be very flexible for our customer. In our approach, we are tackling the passenger experience, but to enable a better passenger experience, but also to have an improved operation of the aircraft, because all this connectivity serves also the operation. You see that airlines are fighting to make profits, and so all this connectivity can also serve us. And in Airbus, we have a vision which is we want to transform the aircraft into a smartphone with wings. Today, maybe raise hand, do you have a smartphone which is SIM-locked to one operator? Has anybody has a smartphone SIM-locked? No. So why on your aircraft you will have only one operator or one choice? So this is the SIM card part of the smartphone vision. And then from a smartphone also you have the possibility to upload applications. You see this huge ecosystem which has been created with smartphone. You can decide to have your professional things. You can have your Waze, you can have your Netflix on it. Why on the aircraft it should not be as simple as that? So here on Airbus we're betting on this image of a smartphone with wings. You have the flexibility to choose your operator, your SIM card in a way. You change the antenna, you change the modem. This is the SIM card of the aircraft. And you have also the possibility to upload your application and to have yourself your SDK, your APIs to build your own application or to take it from the industry to take your application to put on board with the same platform. So this is really where we are going, and this is really to keep the choice for the airline. We leave the choice to the airline. You do whatever you want for your connectivity, for your application, both on passenger and for the operation of the aircraft.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And so those are like a lot of options, I guess, for the airline to consider and think about. How do you guide your customers, into sort of choosing the right choice, or maybe they're sort of, thinking about waiting for like an Amazon Leo or something. How do you sort of navigate that situation where, they really need some kind of guidance, and you obviously need to be quite flexible to their needs. What does that look like for you?
Well, it's a good question because they have so many questions when they come. When you look at the overall picture, it's so complex with so many choices around. So it's a kind of nightmare. So they first need to understand what's the coverage. Do you have my coverage on my network? So we can guide them to you guys on the coverage. Do they have the proper regulatory approval to fly in this area, which is also a big thing that you're making? But also, do I have the guarantee on my solution? If I go with Airbus as an OEM, do we keep the guarantee on the aircraft to make it happen? And how flexible is it to evolve? And this is a big question. Is it future-proof? So we've seen that our HBC Plus Flex, based on the ThinCom 2517, is still a future-proof solution because it will be able to embark Telesat and as soon as you come with that. So they need to understand this flexibility and this evolutivity through the time. Same thing for the HBC Plus Modular. They need to understand that they will be able to decide by their own the pace of the evolution. Okay. So this is a type of question that we have regularly.
Yeah. And you guys obviously work with airlines directly as well. I know STS is stepping into a more direct role with the end user. So how has that been going for you as well?
Yeah. So as we bring open orbits into the way that the scaled part of Intelsat served Aero, it's been a learning experience for us. It's been a good one. You asked a little bit about how does the airline sales pitch go, or how has it changed, right? We always start with understanding what the airline's needs are, right? So you have to ask some airlines questions, and one airline's one airline. They tend to have different needs. Yeah. So we want to understand, is connectivity a big part of their differentiation strategy? Is connectivity something that they have to install to be competitive? So are they doing it reluctantly, or is it something they really want to lean into? How important is it to have what type of experience? Are you targeting streaming? Do you just want people to have messaging and basic productivity? So we tend to ask those kind of, I guess, behavioral questions up front to then understand what solution we can sell and serve with. The spending appetite on both the CapEx and OpEx side is very different across the world's airlines, and so it's a bit of a customized selling strategy. To have a few different options to offer, a couple different bundles is super useful. And then the last part of the strategy is someone else going to help pay for it? So do you have a telco or an MNO that's lined up to help you offset these costs? In many cases, they do have some third-party payer lined up to help, and that typically helps their own internal business case when it comes to selecting maybe the right equipment and the service level that they're willing to buy.
Okay, yeah. And Reza, did you have anything to add when you're working with customers?
Sure, yeah. Similarly, it's a very consultative approach to really understand what the experience is that the brand wants to provide, what the airline wants to provide. And again, we use that to tailor a solution. And we've got low-cost carrier solutions, and we've got full premium streaming multi-ESA solutions. So again, kind of all ends of the spectrum. But I think that consultative approach has worked really well for us because we've been able to craft solutions tailored to the particular use cases.
Yes, and we also discussed while we were having a chat earlier about using different tools like AI, which has been a recent sort of thing that's come up to be able to enhance, your provision of connectivity for your customers, allow, things to be more seamless and frictionless. Maybe Reza, since we were chatting about that, you could start, but how is that being used to improve connectivity?
Yeah, so from a use perspective, I think we had the benefit of going direct 4 years ago when AI, again, it's, I think machine learning and these systems of systems and creating these data lakes have evolved over the past decade. So we had the benefit of starting about 4.5 years ago and developing a system from the ground up with all the hooks in place and all the telemetry in place to be able to create insights for our airline customers. So we've had tremendous success with AI, Gen AI, and helping our agents to help resolve issues very, very quickly, self-healing principles that we've been able to automate and implement. We've gotten to predictive maintenance to a certain extent now, which we're very proud of, to proactively let an airline maintenance operation know that a certain LRU is likely to fail based on the signature that we're seeing on the LRU. So we're very pleased with the promise of AI. And again, I think it's very good in some places, and it's, there's work to do in other places. But where we see value, we're absolutely leveraging it. Capacity planning, huge use case. Kind of anticipating issues and reacting to the issues, adding capacity in certain areas where you need it. Yeah, it's been great.
That makes sense. And
similar answer, AI has been utilized in our business to do predictive failure analysis, which has been super helpful in certain instances. Also from the network performance and capacity analysis standpoint, plugging in actual performance over time into a model, AI is built for that type of analysis, and it can really help you pinpoint where you have network hotspots or you might need to augment capacity a little bit. The other place that we're using AI increasingly is in our build process. So as we modify some of the software and the portal that goes on the airplane, for example, our software developers are using AI-assisted coding tools to help write better code, to help test in a more automated fashion. All of that speeds up the development process, which is necessary to compete these days. So it's been a super helpful tool.
Yeah, interesting. And
and in Airbus, maybe you are aware, we have just created a new company which is called Skywise, which will be our digital body for Airbus. And obviously, AI will be a very important part of it, both for the operation, the former NavBlue part, and also for the predictive maintenance with the Skywise data lake that we have. So we are actively using this AI. And on top of that, as we have now some connectivity and now as we have this smartphone with wings, we have also AI at the edge. We are putting, with our partner Panasonic, some AI in the server on board in order to boost what we can do on board, both for the passenger experience. We have a few examples on our booth if you want to visit us, where we show how with plenty of data points you can improve the operation and you can improve the passenger experience already on board without being connected, and also for the operation of the aircraft, also to make early analysis of what's happening and to be able to anticipate, because in aviation every time you can anticipate it's much better. So AI is designed for that.
Okay, yeah. And so those are quite a few sort of advancements in in-flight connectivity, for both the end user, the passenger, the airline, they have more choice. How's the feedback been so far? Because this has all happened so quickly over the last couple of years. Has there been a really substantial difference in what you're hearing from your customers, at the moment? Maybe Eric, if you could start.
I think the market has been disrupted, whether I like it or not, but it has been disrupted, and we see that the question of yesterday, or not necessarily the question of today. Yesterday we had the KU, what is a choice? Now we have more educated discussions with our customers about the passenger experience, the branding, and so on. So I think it's good because we are having more educated solution on that. And yes, also the offers have evolved, and I think this is for the benefit of it.
Yeah.
And all what is about also the partnership, I think we are coming also for a stronger partnership type of relationship. And I think this is for the benefit of this market.
Yeah, definitely. And what have you guys heard from your customers?
Yeah, similarly, I think the rate of change is so fast.
Yeah.
And again, I think we've been doing well in adapting, and because we kind of started, even though we've been in avionics for 20 years, the past 4 or 5 years we've had direct relationships, and we're really giving more tools and more visibility to our customers to be able to triage and make good decisions, smart decisions about maintenance opportunities or optimizing a certain area on the aircraft that an airline has the ability to optimize. So so that again, they can query the systems without our involvement, because we've given them access to these dashboards and to these query mechanisms, leveraging Gen AI to look at a huge amount of data and come up with an insight. So doing that and giving those tools to our customers has really yielded positive results, and really happy customers, right? We do customer surveys every year to see where we can improve, what's going well, and overwhelmingly all the tools that we've provided are resonating.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the feedback we've received falls into maybe 2 buckets. So the first bucket is the airline would like to install more faster, which is a great problem to have. It challenges the supply chain in our industry, which has not historically moved with haste. And so that's a challenge. That's a good challenge to have. On the usage side, we have airlines coming back and saying, NGSO connectivity, whether that be mPOWER, our MEO network, or connectivity provided through our partner Eutelsat OneWeb on our ESA, they say the NGSO connectivity is great. It's close to a home office experience. It can serve the whole cabin. We see positive NPS around Wi-Fi related questions. So that tells us we're moving in the right direction. As that becomes more dependable, the service provision itself, I think we'll see the airlines come and ask for us to help them with a different set of problems. Help them be more consistent with their brand, maybe help take care of passengers a little more proactively during irregular operations. We're seeing a more of a focus on in-cabin service. So how can I reward loyalty? How can I recognize a high-value customer and tailor the flight to their needs? And then I would expect what you'll see next is how can I tailor the media or entertainment experience on board to serve a customer that is a regular that comes back from time to time. And so I think just moving up out of the network stuff and into the experience stuff shows that we're maturing as an industry, and it's the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, yeah, that we're like nearly at time, and that sort of brings me to my last question. You've kind of already answered it, but maybe if Eric and Reza, you wanted to say, what do you think the sort of next leap in in-flight coverage will be, or connectivity? So, if it is moving towards those sort of digital applications and other services on the side, but as well, as we just discussed, so many things have happened in the last year or two. Do you think we're, going to see another sort of sea change event in another couple of years? What are your predictions?
Yeah, look, maybe consolidation, further consolidation in the market is on the horizon. I'm sure we'll have more NGSO networks. Again, as time goes on, every quarter there appears to be more and more. I think there's sovereign NGSO needs that are out there. And back to our philosophy in our vision is absolutely multi. So multi-orbit, multi-LEO, multi-modem, multi-ESA. And I think airlines are more open to a situation like that with what we've seen evolving in the last 6 to 12 months in the industry. So being an end-to-end service provider, having the manufacturing capability in-house, controlling our supply chain completely, and preparing, I think from a Hughes perspective, is really what we're proud of and what we're going to continue doing as the market shifts. So I think the future is even more connectivity. We're talking gigabit speeds to aircraft. All of our solutions will get an airline there. And again, it's leveraging the best network for the best application. Yeah.
Eric, what would be some of your predictions?
I try to bounce on the consolidation first. It's moving so fast that we need to consolidate. And also we see that for the next step, we foresee some standardization in space also. On the ground, it's obvious for everybody to have 4G or 5G that is connecting everywhere. Tomorrow we are working on the 5G non-terrestrial network, and we are working with Seamless Air Alliance on that, and also in the industry. And maybe tomorrow it will be as simple as to have the same antenna for each and everybody, because it will be standardized, and it will be maybe much simpler to deliver the next product, because we need to realize that in the next 20 years we'll double the fleet of aircraft, and so we need to deliver. And I fully concur with you. It's a matter of delivery. And so my last word will be around this smartphone with wings. We need to come to maturity of this usage of a connected aircraft. Because connectivity tomorrow will be just obvious for the aircraft, and now we need to learn what it means on the usage for both the passenger experience but also the aircraft operations. Yeah,
very true. And thank you guys so much. So that brings us to time on this session. Super interesting. I'm excited to see where the industry heads over the next few years. Did anyone have any questions for my lovely panelists? Yes. Oh.
Hi, my name's Ross. I have a couple aircraft, but I'm curious about the multi-orbit. I'm not really understanding the point of multi-orbit when you have a vast LEO network. What are the advantages of having a multi-orbit when you've got, compared, like when would you switch? Like if you got tens of thousands of LEO satellites, at what point would it make sense to go GEO, given the latency issues that aren't going to ever change?
I mean, the primary use case is going to be when you're entering a region where that LEO can't serve. And there are some regions where the LEO networks are not authorized.
Isn't that the same, though, for GEO? I just flew over India and China using GEO and had no connectivity. But LEO...
Yeah, there are ways to cover those geographies with GEO, but some of the LEO networks are not authorized to serve in those areas currently. So it's the simplest use case.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.